And I kind of want to move from the ancestors in the human realm to the ancestors in a more deep time, symbiotic, collaborative realm. I'm going to open up a passage, I think, of your book where you talk about to assume the nightingale's motivation to be only procreation. Oh, no, maybe it's this one. I'm trying to find the one. Yeah, where you were talking about the honey gatherers of northern Kenya working in partnership with honey guides and talking about these ancient many thousand-year-old collaborative experiences between humans and birds, and that we have symbiotically developed our song, our language in conversation with these other beings. And I was wondering if you could tell us the story of your collaboration with the nightingales, especially for people here who don't know what it is that you do with the nightingales.
The nightingales, very briefly, are a very small, very plain brown bird, about as plain as can be, about the size of a robin. And they live from April through till August, certainly in England, in England and the Northern Hemisphere. And their territory is from East Devon to Western Mongolia. So there's this huge stretch, which there's tens, maybe hundreds of millions of the birds. Very rare in England now, was once very populous, now down to just a few thousand, 5,500 pairs left, and set to go extinct within the next 30 years at current rates of decline. And they live also, they winter in sub-Saharan Africa, so they're a migrant species like many of our songbirds. And they are unique in that they have the peacock feather equivalent for the nightingales. They've evolved this song, this extraordinary repertoire, one of the largest ranges of any bird in sounds and phrases, in an improvisatory way that kind of sets them apart from other birds. And they only sing at night. They do their mating song, the males sing their mating song at night. And this quality of a bird that sings in the silence of the night, maybe only with an owl or a nightjar or a few other species that are intermittent singers, they have this extraordinary singing capacity, which has a human quality about it as well, in its phrasing and its artistry, and as I call it, its decoration of silence. They also have this profound conversationality they have within their own species, where the males sing to each other in this beautifully kind of queer and eloquent and playful and non-competitive and also combative way. And there's so many things about this song that has inspired humans, artists, musicians, poets, writers, you name it. As far back as we know, nightingales have been there. Some of the oldest texts we have speak very deeply about the personalities of this bird. And they've been a muse for artists, particularly romantics, for thousands of years. And one of the amazing things about them that I've kind of, walk in the footsteps of other generations, both in the UK and beyond, is that they also love human music. So when they hear an instrument or a player, they respond, and you can go into conversation with this bird. They will start to sing in key and frequencies and improvise within what you're playing. And so humans can have this unbelievable magical dialogue, which is otherworldly, and it happens at night, in the darkness, in the spring, and it's in every way like you've just drank some very potent medicine and left planet Earth and are soaring through the universe on the wings of this bird. And it's a profound experience that somehow has just kind of been forgotten. And I now hold concerts for every night that the bird sings in spring with different birds, and we take audiences out and with musicians, guest musicians, and we sing and play with them. And it's this wonderful, I'm going to say it on this podcast, or this session, which I wouldn't say anywhere else. It's a ceremony, and it's a meditation, and it's a ritual of how we can dissolve those boundaries between the human world and the animal world, because everything about the experience ceases to remind us that we are humans and have to behave like humans, and that there are these any sorts of boundaries, because when you're in the darkness, in the pitch black, living through your ears, you suddenly realize that everything is a visual and institutional and psychological construct of why we haven't got feathers and why they don't have fingers, as it were. But it brings the avian world and the human world into such a kind of soft connection that it's kind of irrefutable that we are interlinked and dependent on each other as well. And I think that's one of the profound things, knowing, especially when doing this work, that it's, you know, it's the end of time that we can do this in context of the journey of humans and the animal kingdom in, you know, in this anthropocentric world that we live in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I find really powerful about this work that you do with the nightingales, is that I think there's this very Eurocentric problematic idea that humans are bad now and we have to make nature conserved and pristine. And I like the dissolving of the boundary and the honoring of this ancient collaboration, that to step into these songs and to speak back as part of the process, that we have an ecological niche in these relationships, in these webs of song that we can find again. And that it's important, especially, you know, have you heard the song of the Kuei-o bird in Hawaii, who is the last of its species? I think about that all the time, and about that open space of the mate calling for another mate that will never arrive. Like, how do we respond to these frayed spaces we have created? Like, do we respond with shame and guilt, or do we respond with song?
It's beautiful, beautiful phrase. I think of this work in many ways that I think of a lot of the work that I do, but so it's so evident within the nightingales, and that every time I go back to the woods every spring, you know, around the 13th of April, I don't know whether the nightingales will return. And this knowledge that actually the work that I'm doing is palliative care.
Yeah.
Palliative care for the nightingale is palliative care for us. This idea that everyone who comes, many of whom have never heard a nightingale sing before, but also knowing that it's not that long in the, you know, for us, that we will be telling the generations yet to come of what that song was like, what that experience was like, because there aren't any nightingales left. That idea of the, you know, these are endlings. We may have a few thousand, but their existence is so uncertain and potentially doomed, particularly looking at ecological change in sub-Saharan Africa, where they spend half of their lives, that this is something we're doing as a way of honoring and it's a work of gratitude for a bird that has maybe taught us to sing and speak. You know, as a bird that's been singing the same way for millions of years, will no doubt have influenced the way we communicate and how we are physiologically as a species, not just you know, imaginatively as a species. So there is that sense of that correspondence it's the sitting at the bedside and saying thank you and farewell, which is a tragic thought. But then in that frayed space, what can you do but just show love and be your best possible self, and yeah, go into a place of both forgiveness and celebration.
It's really important work right now. I think we all need to be hospicing each other and the species that are beginning to dwindle. We don't know who's going to make it to the next stage, but we have to keep singing.